morning, guys. So it's Tuesday, June 11th, and we're slated to get some very high temps from Thursday onward the rest of the week. So I wanted to take this opportunity right now to come into this. This is a hydrangea garden, a part shade hydrangea garden, and show you guys some of these blooms before they fade with all of this intense heat we're about to get. So back here I've got Annabelle hydrangeas. These are the arborescence type of hydrangeas. Generally in my climate, these are one of the first hydrangeas to bloom. Actually, it's oakleaf, which is quercifolia, which I'll show you guys in a minute, that are the initial hydrangeas to bloom. But these are a close second. So as you can see, they're blooming at their peak right now. These really huge, let me put my hand up to it, really huge domes of mini flowers. All right, so they're mini florets, all within this mass to create this beautiful head of blooms. And when they start to fade, they have kind of like a, I want to say a dusty khaki color to them. But yeah, they're beautiful. So I got two back here, amongst a lot of weeds, a lot of lamium. Let me see if I can show you guys the lamium real quick. So right up against this fence at the base, you can see a whole bunch of lamium. I forgot what variety this is, but it populates this entire back fence. And up here you've got this Virginia creeper, which has a beautiful fall color. Sorry, my shadow's in the way. But yeah, this area right over here, behind those quercifolias, which are, I want to say those are Alice, by the way. I plan to clear that area out, remove some of the lamium, do a lot of weeding, and I'm going to plant all my foxglove seedlings back there. So that should be really nice next spring. And along the shed adjacent to those arborescents, I've got some ghost fern. I think it's 5, but they've gotten so huge. They clearly like where they are. So they're taking up this entire siding of this shed. And I just finished planting this Europhylla clematis, probably 2 days ago, this past weekend. And I think it gets to be roughly 10 to 12 feet tall and probably 3 to 4 feet wide. It's a nice sizable clematis that I'd like to fill in this little obelisk right here. And they provide some beautiful umbrella shaped blooms. Yeah, they kind of bow downwards. Very beautiful, kind of like a very pale pink bordering white. Really gonna be a nice addition right here to this bed. So I talked about the arborescence over there. Right over here I've got ruby slippers. Excuse my shadow, guys. On this beautiful brilliant autumn fern right here to my right. Yeah, but over here I've got these ruby slippers. Let's get in a little closer. These top off at around 3.5 to 4 feet by 3.5 to 4 feet. And these are the first things to the first hydrangeas in my garden to bloom. The ruby slippers, and then like I showed you guys earlier, the Alice oakleaf hydrangeas. This is quercifolia hydrangea. So in the fall, if we get the optimum weather, these have a dusty pink or light purple tone to the blooms. So that's where you get the name ruby slippers from. They filled in really nicely over the years. I think these been in, I want to say, going on 4 years. So these small little white dainty blooms you see next to the oak leaf, that's from my Abelia grandiflora. These put out a really nice scent. And so do the ruby slippers, believe it or not. It has a nice pleasant scent. So in combination with the Abelia grandiflora, over here smells really nice. And as you can see, all the pollinators are super busy. Super busy. They love to get all up in the mouth of those flowers, and they go to town. Yeah, so behind this this hedge of Abelia grandiflora, and actually there's only 2 of them. There's only 2, but I just pruned them so that they can splay outwards and form a nice hedge above those boxwood. But right behind them, you see the top of the panicles for the Alice oakleaf hydrangea. Really nice. And dead smack in between, I don't know if you guys can see that rose, but that's an Imogen. It's got like a creamy white ruffled bloom. Yeah. So there's the other Alice. That one has a more sprawling habit than the adjacent oak leaf. So let me see if I can get in a little closer and show you guys those blooms. So what ends up happening, well, right here you can see the blush or the dusty pink starting to form on this bloom, well, on this panicle. It's an attractive tone, but that's what happens if the weather is mild. Now, if it starts to get too hot, these will go right past this dusty pink stage and right into like a brown stage, which is attractive too. And you can see when the blooms start to deteriorate, you get all that litter. So it's not the most attractive thing, but you know, so goes the process. So these panicles are roughly, I want to say about a good foot, 10 inches to a foot long. They're pretty big, and they're at least 6 inches wide. So let me put my hand up to it for reference. See, my hand's roughly 5 inches wide. And about 6.5 inches long. So yeah, those blooms get pretty massive. Those blooms get pretty big. So again, these are Alice oakleaf quercifolia hydrangeas. I don't know if you guys are able to see that blue flower right there. That's a bloom struck. It's a bloomstruck bloom. And that bloomstruck, I've just given it a second chance on life. It was doing pretty poorly and I just left it there. Yeah, so those were the quercifolias right there. Right here, I planted this sweet summer. This sweet summer hydrangea has been in the ground, I want to say going on its third season, believe it or not. And this right here is hydrangea paniculata. And it's got that beautiful backdrop of the Diabolo 9 bark. And that gorgeous arborvitae that's really filling in quite nicely. And it's grown so tall in the 4 years that it's been in the ground. And to finish off this bed, I've got crocus roses, which all have been deadheaded pretty severely in anticipation for the next set of blooms. But yeah, that sweet summer paniculata, that's going to push out some blooms, I want to say late July. Sorry for the harsh sun, guys. This right here is a PG paniculata. And it gets pretty big. I used to think it was a limelight, but I don't think limelights get that big. Let's see if I can swing over here. The sun wouldn't be as harsh. But yeah, this I believe is starting to bud up. As you can see right there, it's starting to bud up. Those are Becky Shasta daisies behind it, or underneath rather. But yeah, it's starting to bud up. So I want to say late July, this will be a really spectacular show. All those little buds forming. So I didn't go too crazy in pruning her this past early spring. I usually go in and give her a severe prune, but I did remove a lot of the dead branches and as many of the old spent flower heads that I possibly could, I took them off. All those way at the tippy top, I wasn't able to reach those. But yeah, this starts to bloom, I want to say mid to late July. And looking underneath here, I actually have an iris. It's a bearded iris. Yeah, right there, that's a bearded iris. I'm surprised it's blooming this late in the season. Let's see if I can get close up. Yeah, that's a pleasant surprise. I mean, it's beautiful. It's got almost a velvety, chocolatey color tone to it. Yeah, so that's a welcome surprise this late in the spring season. So back here in chicken land, this is the second pergola hydrangea garden. Right up here is another quercifolia. This one is Snow Queen. It's kind of got this. It kind of has a similar habit of Alice, but the blooms are a lot longer. So here's my arm, from the tip of my fingers halfway down my arm. This bloom is massive. And it's starting to change that dusty pink that I was telling you guys about earlier. See that? Like in the center of the blooms. It starts off with that dusky pink and white edges. So yeah, that's the difference between the Alice and the Snow Queen. Snow Queen has much longer blooms. So I need to get out here and give all of these a really deep watering before we get those high temps later on in the week. This right here is another arborescence. Annabelle. Lovely contrast to this loropetum right next to it. Those gorgeous maroon and burgundy leaves. Makes for a really nice contrast between the two plants. Look at that. Camera's trying to focus. Yeah. There you go. Beautiful contrast between the two. So this loropetum will get probably 3 times its size. Right now it's roughly, I want to say 3 feet by 4 feet. 3 feet tall by 4 feet wide. So yeah, she's gonna be a big girl. And she's filling really nicely. When I first planted her that first year, she was looking really sad, really depressing. Okay, so I think I have 1 more or 2 more sets of hydrangeas to show you guys. So let's head on back there. Oh yeah, real quick. I think I showed you guys this bloomstruck that's in this pot when I shared that that video about the you know, the arbor and these rolled out roses. But yeah, this bloomstruck, this one puts out more pink flowers because it is not in the ground, and this potting mix clearly is a little bit more alkaline. All right, so my ground, but the soil that I'm working with in the garden, in the ground, okay, happens to be a lot more acidic. So that's why the bloomstruck I showed you guys earlier, that one bloom was really a deep purple. But this here is a bright pink color. It really stands out. I can see it from the window, from my bedroom window. Oof. All right, I got some spiders crawling on me, and I think I could keep my composure only for so long. All right, guys, so back here, these started to bloom, I want to say the same time. These are serratas, by the way. It's a hydrangea serrata, and it's called Bluebird. These started to bloom, I want to say in the same time frame as the macrophyllus, or the mop heads, which I'll show you guys shortly. And these blooms on the serrata are kind of fading. They're almost on their way out. They're almost on their way out, and they are just covered in daddy long legs. Covered in daddy long leg spiders. So those are the guardians of the serratas, I guess. So here's a serrata right here in front of that last one. Has more of a deeper blue. It has more of a deeper blue center than the previous one. I don't think you can manipulate the color or the shade or the tone of serrata blooms. They have similar leaf patterns like the macrophyllus, like the mop heads. And there's one right in the front. Let's check that out. It's a pretty picture, even though you've got poison ivy right here. You've got that beautiful mop head right there. And let's move that frond of this fern aside. Got some beautiful blooms hanging low. So clearly I didn't deadhead the old spent blooms on this macrophylla, all of them really. So what I do like is that the flowers cascade. They're practically all over the plant. Practically all over the plant. Let's kind of walk over here. This one has a deeper blue hue. And I walked right dead smack into a cobweb. So clearly this bed, you know, there's not that much traffic, so all the little critters are allowed to really overpopulate. But yeah, this is a bluebird. And the blooms are just spectacular. I think I can put up with a few daddy long legs on me. But there's a contrast between the red and my t-shirt and the deep blue of this bluebird. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Gorgeous. And they're pretty sizable blooms too. Pretty sizable blooms. All right. There's a few more over here. Check this one out right here. I think this is a double bloom. Yeah. Yeah, this is on 2 branches. But yeah, they have a really nice growth habit. As long as they stay watered. And I've just been very impressed by this bed. This is the half circle hydrangea garden. All right, so I'm about to interrupt these girls in their morning foraging so I can show you guys the Jetstream hydrangea quercifolias. Yeah. Hey, Judy. Let me get on past you there. Go on. That's a beautiful Japanese forest grass. It's really filled in really nicely. It was such a little sprig when I first planted it. So right here, I might be walking through some, oh, this right here is another paniculata. I know I said I was gonna show you guys quercifolias, but this right here is a little line. It's about 3 feet, 3.5 feet tall. So it's doing really well. It took really well to this location. So right here, this is a hedge of 5 Jetstream hydrangea quercifolias, all the way up to the chicken coop. And these have stockier blooms, a stockier bloom structure. And they stay in the shade most of the day, except for sunset. Late afternoon sun hits back here. See how perfectly white that is? They've really come a long way I think I have the tag somewhere here. Yeah. So right here, it's Jetstream. See if I can get some of these stats here. 5 to 6 feet high, 4 to 5 feet wide, full sun to part shade. And here are some of the autumn hues. So the blooms also slowly go into that dusky rose color, and the leaves really have a fantastic autumn color to them. They rival the, I want to say, the Alice and the Snow Queen leaves. But yeah, I'll be sure to come back here in the early fall when the flower blooms and the leaves start to change, to give you guys a peek. Yeah, so like I said, I have 5 Jetstream hydrangeas back here. Look how fat that bloom is. All right. Down here, I've got some autumn brilliance fern. It's looking really nice. So it doesn't turn that brilliant auburn hue that the ones further up front have, because it's more in deep shade back here. And I've got some of this Brunnera as ground cover as well. And over there I've got Lamium as a ground cover as well. I tried to grow Japanese anemones back here, but you know, I failed to keep them watered, so I think they kind of disappeared. So yeah, these are the 5 Jetstream oakleaf hydrangeas. So this area back here is still in development. I've managed to create a path and kind of, you know, define these beds a little better. So back here, I've got these Invincibelle. So when the guys came back here and removed that tree, you can see the stump right there, which I still got to install that obelisk. Anyway, that's another discussion. They damaged this Invincibelle. So this is an arborescence hydrangea. They're just like the Annabelle, but they're more improved. The blooms are supported by more rigid stems, I want to say. So these already started to turn that dusky pink. Gorgeous. Let's check out this one here. Oh yeah. Just gorgeous. Yeah, so when the tree guys cut that tree down, they clearly dropped something on her. But you know, she's still going. So yeah, this bed just needs to be put together. I've got some oldies in here, such as my columbine, aquilegia. They've already since finished blooming. I would like to populate, let's kind of step over here. So here's the edge of the bed. So anyway, I'd like to populate the front of this bed with more aquilegia and come on, buddy, come on. These are Stilby. I think they're I've got white and I want to say visions in purple or something like that. I don't remember the name. And these are 2 Wu hostas, which get massive. So I've been battling voles in this garden, as you guys may know or may not know. And so I almost lost them. I had 3 here at one point. So back there you can see the arborescence I just showed you guys. And so I repeated it up here. This was totally covered and just, it disappeared when they cut that tree down. So it's since rebounded very nicely. So I repeated 3 of them. There's a second one right there. It's getting a little closer to the blooms because they look especially nice. Yep, especially nice. It's a nice tall weed accompanying it. This is that Japanese stilt grass, guys. It's my nemesis. So I've been pulling it out, mowing it down, you name it, just to prevent it from flowering and going to seed. So yeah, I repeated 3 of these up front. Here's the third one right here. Just doing really nicely. It's getting really tall, actually. Yeah, so this is hydrangea arborescens, Invincibelle spirit. I don't know if it's 1 or 2. It's probably Invincibelle spirit 1. Yeah, it's probably Invincibelle spirit 1. Look at this bloom right here taking a nap on this hosta leaf. So with this bloodgood Japanese maple right here, you see the contrast between its leaves and the arborescent blooms. Very nice, very nice. And at the bottom I have these variegated hostas. I need to come and spray some BT on them because they're starting to get munched on. Yep, they've already since bloomed. Oh, there's a plant tag. That is bedazzled plantain lily. So that's what these 3 are. That's probably what that bigger one is over there too. So yeah, and back here is the roughest of the rough in terms of my garden. But yeah, so I have a pathway right here, and there's the continuation of that other bed, where this one right here, this is a regular sweet summer hydrangea. And because I have acidic soil, the blooms are a very pale baby blue. You see the individual florets. So that's what each of these blooms are. They're pretty much a cluster of small florets. This one has a beautiful variegation here. The center is kind of like a light pistachio lime green, and the outer petals, or the outer florets, the outer florets are more baby blue. Yeah. So that's the age progression of the bloom. It starts off, you know, kind of that pistachio limey green, and you can tell the outer florets are aged, and that is more of a blue color. Yeah. Yep, this one has a story too. It was almost dead. And I almost gave up on it, and so I said, you know what? I think it was in a pot. So I just planted it back here in a more secluded area, gave it a little chance to rebound, and it's doing its thing. And right here I've got some pulmonaria. There's a ground cover, which I intend to populate this area with some more of that. Over here, bleeding hearts, which are faded clearly, and soon they'll all be cut down and fertilized for the season. This right here is a hydrangea paniculata. I think it's either a sweet summer or a little lamb. It might be a sweet summer, but those are the last to bloom in the garden. All right. And this right here, I'm not sure. I know this is red something. I don't know if it's summer red, but it has some very shockingly red blooms. I guess since it's farther in the back and it doesn't get that much sun, the blooms are taking on more of a deep pink color to them. But yeah, when this thing gets good sun, those blooms are amazing. So that's another macrophylla. It's a mop head. So over here I have a quercifolia, which was in a pot. Actually, here's the pot. But anyway, it was in a pot and it was under the deck for a number of years. It's another ruby slippers. And so I decided to put it in the ground. So it's liking it back here, you know. It gets full on sun, I want to say between 1 to 3 p.m. So it gets a good dosage of sun. Right here I've got a whole area that's just nothing but periwinkle. It's a thug. It puts out these really pretty purple, you know, periwinkle flowers early in the season, but after that, man, it's a real beast. And right here, I think I have a Bobo hydrangea. Which one is this? I think this is the Bobo. Yeah, so it's a paniculata, Bobo hydrangea. It's had its glory days, and it's putting out these flower buds, as all the paniculatas are around this time of year. So it's mid-June, mid-Atlantic, Maryland, zone 7B. So yeah, this plant is covered in buds. And over here is another paniculata. I think this one has some color to it. Oh yeah, little lime punch. So as you can see, that's what I'm expecting. I'm not sure if I'll get that color variation, but it's another paniculata by Proven Winners. Let me see if I can get some stats without getting freaked out. Look at all those bugs running for their lives. So USDA zones 3 to 8, 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. So it gets a nice size. So these clearly will form a tiny little mound or a hedge. And this right here is a little lamb that was transplanted. It's not so little anymore. But yeah, this is a little lamb. So Proven Winners, 4 to 6 feet tall and wide. USDA zones 3 to 8. Let's tuck that back in there. Yep. So I think I have another little lamb. I'll show you guys real quick. So right here, this bed, adjacent to the half circle hydrangea garden over there. Look at those blue blooms. Look at those blue blooms. Just glowing over there. So adjacent to it, I formed this new bed. I put out a video probably 2 years ago where I've got 2 Edgeworthias chrysanthemums. Look how huge they've grown. Look at that. Look at that. Of course, the chickens love to go around the base of a lot of these shrubs and dig around, but it really hasn't drastically affected the shrubs. But this right here, I think, is another little lamb. So this is another paniculata. hydrangea. It hasn't put out any blooms or buds just yet. Let's step back here. Yeah, so yeah, it hasn't put out any blooms just yet. You've got the Edgeworthias on the side. You've got a Gerard azalea right here. Gave me a really nice show. And a spirea right here, which I do need to water. Yeah, it's starting to get a little crispy. That was transplanted. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, that concludes this tour. It seemed like it was a long tour of all my hydrangeas. I wanted to come out here and give you guys a quick tour before we get all of these temps for the next, I don't know, the next 6-7 days. It's going to be in the 90s. So a lot of these hydrangea blooms are going to fade out. And I wanted to make sure I came out here and showed you guys what's popping before all of these blooms fade. So thank you for hanging out with me on this tour. I really love these hydrangeas. I give them my all. They're well cared for, well, as much as a single person can do. This right here is a climbing hydrangea, real quick before I go. It bloomed earlier in the season. Actually, I think it bloomed even before the quercifolias. No, not quercifolias, but the paniculatas. Oh my God, I got all my hydrangeas mixed up. Yeah, it bloomed earlier than the quercifolias, which are the oakleafs, right? There's Alice right there. So yeah, it threw out 2 blooms. I was really excited. I think I showed you guys on Instagram or something like that. But it's done really nice. It's really taken to this area. It's getting the right amount of sun, and it's slowly but surely making its way up this pergola. All right, guys, until next time, this is AJ's Green Thumb.